It is season 34, admittedly 2 wars late, but I am here with the third iteration of the placement guide. This should be valid for the next 2 seasons, in which there are the Mystic Dispersion tactic for defense. Um, I mean, this is for tier 1 and tier 2 nodes, or tier 1 to tier 3, which is expert tier, because those are the nodes I had best access to. A lot of the nodes are very similar, do stuff that is in a similar vein, or something like that. And so it is definitely still applicable to other tiers. It's just best applicable to that tier. Um, and I'll tell you if it's the tactic that causes the defender to be good. So that's also worthy of note. It is also good to look at these little insignias. So the hashtag is Human Torch, kind of like an H, if you will. The plus is Hercules. The star is Ghost. The exclamation point is Spidey, and the @ is Archangel. I don't actually know if I use Spidey at all during this, but anyway. Green means that it's really good, and red means that it's very, very good. Like, maybe if you're having a lot of problems, you want to, like, switch pals and mess up a bit. So it's just, like, rough and kind of arbitrary delineation of, like, difficulty. And then white's, like, standard. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to the people who helped me. In my first 2 guides, I did this completely by myself, and I probably could have done that in this one, but the way that the tactic works and the nodes, they're a little bit more convoluted, and I wanted more perspective, and it was just easier to do with other people. So shout out to Blaze, who was on call with me during that, and shout out to Cody as well. Cody helped me a lot with this process, so I'm going to link his channel in the description. Please give him some love. He puts out lots of war videos, and I don't know if he'll ever do other stuff in the future, but at the very least, if you want to see how to massacre all these placements that I just suggested, go to his war videos, and he does Path 1, I believe. But shout out to both of them and Jen as well for helping with these placements. But I can explain all the logic by myself, so with that in mind, let's get to it. So node 1 is on path 4. We have steady build-up Fury, running on fumes, heal block debuff, and while they are down. Basically, you want to be putting as many debuffs on them as possible if you're the defender. So Black Widow Clairvoyant with her special 1. War Machine, because that special 1 eats through block. Mr. Fantastic with his special 1. And Void with... Basically, Void actually interacts more with running on fumes than anything else. Running on fumes is I believe when you're close by, it'll give you a fatigue. So that mixed with while they're down and other stuff, and just Void being Void will be a lot of damage. And Terrax would get Fury, and the theory with Terrax there is that steady build-up Fury would start building up because of his armor breaks, and then he would hit a lot harder through Rockfield. And I'm going to skip over to number 10 as well. Node 10 is basically the same, except the biggest difference, and this is a big difference, is insult to injury. Long distance relationship is a little bit stronger than running on fumes, but it doesn't really matter. Insult to injury is the big one. For every debuff, you lose 10% ability accuracy. I think it's all debuffs, but it could just be non-damaging. I believe it's all debuffs. So Mr. Fantastic with his special 1 and all his special debuffs, like when you throw a special attack, will hurt you. Black Widow Clairvoyant. Terrax again. Void will make it harder to shrug them off, or to parry, or to do all the kinds of stuff that would make fighting Void a little bit easier. Man-Thing, if they are immune to Nullify or immune to buffs, it's not really going to be a problem, but if they're only immune to poison, it will be a problem. But I think Terrax is a good placement here, Mr. Fantastic. Right, one last thing. They're not listed according to difficulty. They're listed according to how well they synergize with a node. Like, if you see this note here, champions are ranked left to right, not on their overall abilities, or even synergy with the node, but on how they utilize that node in comparison to other nodes. Which is to say that just because Doctor Doom is really good on Path 1, Fight 1, does not mean that we're going to waste him on Path 1, Fight 1. So even if he's better than someone else, if someone else utilizes it better than him, we're going to put them there so that... Because diversity is a thing, is basically what I'm saying. Okay. So, that's Path 4 pretty much. You just want to put debuffs on them, and then the second fight is a lot better. You might not even want to place on Node 1, but placing on Node 10 is usually a really good idea. Moving on to Node 2, which is Ebb and Flow Knockdown, and we're going to do that in conjunction with Node 11, because they're similar. We have Thing. I've seen a lot of things there. Hercules wrecks it. Apocalypse, slow but wrecks it. You can kind of use She-Hulk or Shang-Chi, but it's not as good. I think Domino would be kind of a problem there just because it's hard to keep her down and to play slow and all these other things between right back at it, Force of Will, and also that knockdown node. You're gonna have to play slow. You have America Chavez. The theory here is that when you knock her down, she'll have right back at it, so you can't parry her, and then she will start throwing heavies and being a stupid America Chavez. So that might work as well. Mr. Negative, I mean, he's just annoying. You can't Archangel him. A couple other things. Annihilus, same deal pretty much. Just like he's kind of annoying, and if you can't start the fight well, it's gonna kind of be a problem. I also faced a ranked 4 Nimrod on this node, and I can't say that was a fun time, although it wasn't necessarily all that hard. Node 11, we have Ebb and Flow Knockdown Heavy Hitter. That's Hitmonkey is pretty good there, because if you miss a parry and he goes into heavy, you're really not having a good time. Ebony Maul as well, and that one's a little bit of a better placement. Ebony Maul's definitely the better placement here, but I wouldn't necessarily want to waste him. But yeah, so Archangel's gonna nuke Hitmonkey. Apocalypse nukes Hitmonkey as well. Torch is gonna nuke Maul, that's obvious. Mysterio, just because he's annoying and he heavies a lot. Nick Fury in his second life when he's stun immune. You can't bait out heavies. Pretty simple. Mordo, you can't bait out heavies. I mean, like, basically what I have is I have Hitmonkey, and then every single other champion who you kind of generally bait out heavies for openings, and they just aren't viable on that node. And the reason why I have these little insignias here is because it's important. Some placements are really good for the bans and some aren't. Like, for example, if I were to place like Havoc on node 35, which is a suggestion that I have, you can't use Nebula there, you can't use Kingpin there, right? But if I leave Ghost unbanned, that placement sucks. So it's really important to work with your bans when you're defending or building a defense, because it's an important thing and it's good to work together. So here we have Path 6, Section 1. These actually aren't that similar, so we're going to go out over them one at a time. For Node 3, we have Combat Deja Vu, which is basically don't repeat your combo or they'll get a prowess. Those prowesses do stack. And Spiked Armor. I just kind of put some champions here. I've definitely left this one empty before, but Domino, just because, I mean, ideally you want to nuke her down, so if you're nuking her down, you're probably going to be critting. That's the theory. It's not that good of a placement. America Chavez for the prowess to, like, specialty you into the block. Omega Sentinel, because the theory is that you can't nullify her. That's why she's there. So you can't nullify the Spiked Armor. The prowess is going to hit hard on your block if you choose to block them. Mysterio is the same theory as Domino. You can't nuke him down as easily. And Nimrod is there just because he's Nimrod and a little bit tanky, I believe. But this is not that good of a node. I wouldn't necessarily place on it either. Going on to node 4, Reinvigorated Fury. Personal space regen, which is literally personal space with regen. I don't know why we're talking about Reinvigorated Fury. Is if you get 10 regens to get a Fury. This one's not that good of a node either. It's decent though. I just placed a whole bunch of regen champs and then Penny Parker just for fun. I would not place on that node necessarily, but you can obviously read and look at those. Not much to explain there. Here we have I did not do node 5 yet. Okay, so we're gonna do node 5. Strike Counter Fury, Hitmonkey just because he hits really hard. Green Goblin because of the way he interacts with Power Struggle, which is to say that when you get a bar of power, the attacker won't necessarily get a full bar of power because of how Green Goblin mitigates power gain, and so it kind of makes Strike Counter Fury a little bit more difficult. Ebony Maul, Invisible Woman, just because for some reason she got kills there in off-season, and Mysterio because he's annoying and you want to bait out those specials, so it'll be harder to throw your own. Node 6, Hit Me I Dare You, which is every 10 hits to get an armor up. Static Defense, which is every time you hit someone with an armor up, there's a 15% chance to get shocked. And Return Policy. Nimrod's really good here. The only reason he's not a even stronger placement is, for one, Nebula would absolutely dismantle this kid. And also because he's better elsewhere. I know we died to Havoc a couple wars ago here. Even Void, if you want to use Void with the Static Defense. I mean, Omega Sentinel's Return Policy immune because, you can't actually... Actually, that's not true. For some reason, they class Return Policy to include armor breaks. So if you armor break her, it'll also punish you. That's why I had her here. So you can't armor break her here. And on top of that, she'll shock you. So lots of power. That would definitely be a fun one. Um, and that's a definitely fun placement because Path 3 is pretty easy, so to put a really hard defender on there would be a problem. Path 7, this is a new node as well, Conflictor and Power Efficiency. Power Efficiency is, 50% power cost on specials only. Conflictor is like Masochism, but for power gain. Lots of stuff that just spam specials. Sasquatch, America Chavez, even someone like Mangog. But I mean, you could just use a slow champion. That one's not that hard. Mojo's kind of an interesting one. With the Defiance tactic, he's not really all that hard anymore. But someone like Mojo, where he's throwing tons of specials and the power efficiency mixing with the Conflictor and trying not to dexterity could be an issue. But I mean, it's not that hard. Ebony Maul for being Ebony Maul. Power efficiency and the Conflictor mixed with his mediums is going to be a fun time. Rich Get Richer Fury is like Rich Get Richer Power, except with Fury. It's pretty self-explanatory. Literally just people who get lots of buffs. Pretty standard. I would not put Super Scroll there. That's a waste. I just put him there as kind of like an idea. Would not place Super Scroll there for the love of God. Please don't. Node 9, Hazard Shift, Incinerate, Poison, Schadenfreude. Someone like Void has been getting lots of kills there. Because Schadenfreude is the one where if they have a debuff, you have a 500% Fury, which actually means you have 600% attack, right? Because you start with 100% attack. So literally hitting 6 times harder. Void and Terrax there are really good. Surfer on Schadenfreude with the new tactic can be fun. Someone like Nimrod, because I believe it's when you throw a special, you get this debuff on you, so he's going to hit really hard. If you miss a special 1 dex or something, that could be a problem. How would I attack that Nimrod? One way you could do that Nimrod is with Nebula and Proxima Synergy. That's a really niche way. I would not do that. Or just a double immune, but you'd get hit really hard. So, I mean, honestly, that's a decent placement there. Overseer, when you throw a special attack, you get that debuff, and then he's hitting hard for the rest of the fight. Let's see. Node 10, we already went over that. Node 11, we already went over that. Node 12, Aggression, Prowess, and Critical Setup. Critical Setup is if you throw the same combo ender 2 times in a row, it'll be a guaranteed critical hit. So I heard guaranteed critical hit and decided that Ebony Maul should go there. If people choose not to read that node, they're going to be in for a good time and miss all of their every other combo. So I don't think that's going to cause any trip ups, but I would. That's not true. I don't think it'll usually cause trip ups. I think people will trip on it every couple times a season, probably 2-3 times a season. Would not be surprised. Kitty Pryde also punishes critical hits, and Aggression Prowess means that she can phase earlier. So that's always a fun time, and we can put her there as well. Just someone like Null, in case the special one's doing little tricks and finicky stuff, could be fun. And other prowess people like Sauron, maybe Emma Frost. Even if Emma Frost is unawakened, that could be a fun one if people aren't used to that. Pretty standard stuff. Node 13 is kind of similar to its counterpart Node 4, but Masochism. Pretty basic. I'm not going to go over that one, but just like if they regen a lot, I guess, and then maybe if Masochism would get in the way, so like someone like Dormammu or Tigra or someone who you want to slow play, or stay close to or avoid dexing, like a Mystic, right? If you put Masochism on it, it could be a little bit harder. Node 14 is Strike Counter Fury. The difference is this one's Power Focus 1, and so we really emphasize that one on this node. Overseer with the special one in his auto block. Actually, not even that hard, but whatever. Mysterio, Nick Fury, even with this special 1 spam. Someone like Nimrod, special 1 spam. Even Doctor Doom. Just someone who throws lots of special 1s and can be kind of annoying. Someone who, if you dodge 8 special 1s, you're probably going to mess up 1 or 2. Node 15 is basically just Power Focus 2 and Mystic Ward. But Power Focus 2 is the big one, so America Chavez, Strife, Mangog, Mysterio, Ebony Maul. I would probably actually end up throwing Strife here just because he doesn't have that many good placements, and people aren't necessarily all that well versed in his specials. His special one, you're going to have that miss, and you're not really going to have that many miss counters, so unless you're going to Hercules that, which you can, it's going to be a rough time. So actually, I'm going to add that little plus here, so Hercules would make that fight a lot easier, and probably Archangel too. So that one's kind of contingent upon a couple things, but still pretty easy. I would also argue that Archangel makes this fight a little bit easier. So if you're banning, especially if you're banning Hercules, Strife is a decent one there. Node 16, I've had a 5-star get kills with Mangog on Node 16. Also someone like America Chavez. The first 2 wars, I placed Mangog on Node 16 as a 5-star again. Got a kill each time. but I wanted to try Chavez. So this war, which is War 3, I'm going to be placing Chavez. So we'll see how that goes. We also have classic ones like Sasquatch, Mysterio, even Doom to an extent, but you could just use like Spidey for that, because I would not advocate for banning Spidey. We will put a little Spidey thing here, though. We'll put a little Spidey thing here, and a little Spidey thing here. But yeah, pretty simple stuff. Node 17. Oh, I also see a lot of people place Kingpin here, but Bishop absolutely roasts it, so I wouldn't do that. Node 17 is Rich Get Richer. Again, pretty basic stuff. The only reason why I put King Groot with little red thing here is because I'll probably downgrade that to a green one for one. But the second reason is just because, I mean, he doesn't really have any other good spots, so he's worth it to place there. And with the shrug and all the other stuff, it's like, it's pretty decent. And then you have all these other buff heavy options. Don't place Nova there. There are better stuff there. Node 18, Power Focus 1, Feat of Indestructible 1, Insult to Injury. So what you have is you have the Hazard Shift, which is pretty standard. Insult to Injury, which is what we already went over. Each debuff is 10% reduced ability accuracy. Power Focus 1, we all know. Feat of Indestructible 1, when the attacker reaches 1 bar of power, the defender will go indestructible. So Havoc, because, you know, his plasmas, no one's immune to his plasmas, and so, like the plasmas themselves. And so, you know, you're going to have a lot less ability accuracy. On top of that, you can't Kingpin it. Granted, I wouldn't Kingpin this anyway because of Insult to Injury. You'd have to be really stupid to do that. Overseer, same reason as the other Insult to Injury, except this time you have Power Focus 1. I think this is a really fun placement. I will definitely be doing this at least 1 or 2 times in the future. Weapon X, just because Feat of Indestructible 1 is just makes it even more annoying to fight him. And Power Focus 1 means he's going to be spamming that special 1, which I believe increases his Berserk. Korg, because he spams special 1, and who knows, maybe he'll mess that up in his Rock Field and all that fun stuff. And Annihilus for the same reason as Korg, with spamming specials, hopefully eat up lots of the board. Okay, Node 19, we have, this is the shared fight for the second pod, which is paths 4, 5, 6. Ebb and Flow Knockdown, right back at it. Aggression Prowess. This is a pretty easy node. There's very few things I'd ever be scared on this. Pretty standard stuff. You can look over it if you want to, but basically we're utilizing right back at it. And Aggression Prowess, you know, with America Chavez, like I said before. Someone like Doom or Nick Fury, just because they're really tanky and they hit pretty hard. Node 20 is Strike Counter Fury, Hit Me I Dare You, Masochism. This is the Man-Thing node. I wanted to try Man-Thing on another node because at this point people have so much practice that he's not hard. So I tried Man-Thing on node 50 this war just to see. But Man-Thing's good. Maybe Weapon X. I put Weapon X down last night, and then like on the sheet, and then we actually faced one this war, which Cody, by the way, so please check out his video because you're gonna see that Weapon X does indeed get dismantled by Warlock with an Odin pre-fight, which we knew he would, but it forces you to bring 2 people, so it is what it is. Someone like Terrax with Strike Counter Fury on top of that with Shocks could be fun. You could absolutely massacre this thing with Diablo, but I mean, it is what it is. Havoc, just because Strike Counter Fury and Shocks is a fun time, and Domino, because, you know, slow fight. Node 21, we faced Surfer here, which gave us a big fright. We soloed it with the 5-star Falcon, so a good job by Rayman on that one, but Silver Surfer is a good placement on 21. Terrax for Schadenfreude. Overseer for Schadenfreude. Havoc for Schadenfreude. America Chavez because she sucks. And Power Efficiency. Pretty standard stuff, just utilizing different parts of the nodes. Node 22, we have Penny Parker. Node 22 is just not a hard node anymore, but Penny Parker, I really like Weapon X here. In fact, I'd probably say Weapon X over Penny Parker here. And then just people who are fun, who get lots of specials and who whatever, like Domino and Noel, maybe Ebony Maul. But I think Weapon X here would be a really good one. You're definitely going to get at least 1 kill with Weapon X there. Node 23 is Mixmaster. This is an easy node. I just put random people here because it's all easy. Bishop, Lord, if you do not ban Ghost. So easy, but you have to ban Ghost. You'd have to be really dumb not to ban Ghost. Bishop is here. Domino, same, you can Ghost it, but Domino is always tricky because it's just kind of a little bit RNG based sometimes. Sauron, just because people are unfamiliar with his animations, he goes unblockable, fun other stuff like that. And that special one, admittedly, I think it's pretty easy to dodge. There is a trick to it. You wait for him to just jump down and you just dash back. It's pretty simple, but some people mess that up. Ebony Maul, just because he's Ebony Maul with the tactic. Nova can be so easily doomed, but it's a slow fight. Node 24, I think Toad here would be a magnificent placement. Because it would be kind of hard to get power with Nimrod. So mixed with the way I would tackle this is Ghost. That's why I said that she needs to be banned. That's what that asterisk means. But if you Odin'd up Nimrod, you'd get no power. You'd still take some damage. You would get passive stun because you wouldn't kill him in time because you cannot throw special attacks because of Burden of Might. So I think this is just a generally very slow fight, and if you can place a rank 3 Awakened Toad on that node, you're going to probably run into some issues. You won't. The attackers might. You could probably Omega Red that if you really wanted to. That's true. If you wanted to use Omega Red with Suicides, that could nuke it down. So Omega Red with Suicides is the best option. Nimrod's second best option, but that's a fun one there. Scorpion, we just faced that. Just the way that he interacts with his evade and always having it up is an issue, plus he poisons, so he's a fun one there. You can definitely ghost that very easily, but once again, please ban Ghost. Nick Fury, pretty standard placement, been there for a long time. Killmonger, pretty standard placement, been there for a long time. Kitty Pryde, because it's harder to Nimrod, and also just because she's Kitty Pryde, so it could be fun, hitting into block, right, with the bubble shield. And EMP modification's a fun one as well. Node 25 is Footloose, Crumbling Armor, Kinetic Transference, Force of Will, which means that when they throw a special attack, they will get an evade and an unstoppable for 7 seconds. And when they hit into your block, they will get power and their immune to ability accuracy reduction. I think Omega Sentinel is great here. You'll have to slow her because you can't really nullify her. It's not allowed. So, I mean, you just have to use a slow champion here. You could also Tiger it. You can definitely Tiger that fight. I don't necessarily see a lot of people Tigering, so just because the fight can be Tigered doesn't mean that it's not a good placement, because for some reason people still sleep on Tiger. I wouldn't say sleep on her as in they don't think she's good, but they never use her. Domino here, just because she's Domino. We're actually facing one this war. I wonder how that's going to go. I hope we can get that solo. We're going to throw rank 4 Warlock at it. Sasquatch, just because spamming specials, Kinetic Transference, Mystic Dispersion. Granted, Mystic Dispersion probably won't be a factor if you're using a Defiance champion. Like, She-Hulk would probably massacre that. If I saw that, I would take it with She-Hulk, and I would not be scared at all. Mojo for Kinetic Transference more than anything else. Thing, just because he's Thing. And it's kind of hard to use a lot of slow champions on him. Probably Spider-Gwen's the best one there to take him down. Node 26, Window of Opportunity Stun. Don't stun them, I guess. And the big one is defective defense. If you block, you'll get a disorient. So Void is there because if you block, you're going to get disoriented and degened, which is not ideal. Doom is there as well, between Mystic Dispersion and all this other stuff. Bishop for the special one, Omega Sentinel for blocking her specials, on top of the fact that you kind of have to alternate your combo with her, so playing Mixed Master when you can't parry is kind of tough. Apocalypse for the special one. Void is an easy counter with someone like Jabari Panther. You could probably Ghost that if you wanted to, now that I'm saying that. You can probably Apocalypse that if you want to, too. Doom, you can Apocalypse. You can also Tigra. You could also Spidey Doom. Bishop, you can Ghost. You can also probably Tiger Bishop. You can Apocalypse Bishop, too. Omega Sentinel, you would probably... I don't know if you would Tiger that. You'd have to evade her specials and Tiger that. You could also maybe use Torch and burst it down, but that's a little bit iffy. And Apocalypse, you can just... Who would we use against Apocalypse? I feel like I know this matchup, but I can't remember. You could Tiger that for one. You could Ghost that. You could do a couple things on that one, actually. Omega Sentinel probably has the least ways that it can go wrong, but also the least ways that it can go right. Node 27, steady build-up unblockable. Debuffs make you unblockable. Pretty basic stuff. Special burst lockdown. On the special attack, you will get 2 debuffs. It is a heal block and a armor break. Havoc, null, Joe Fix-It, because when you throw a special, you get a debuff, and so the next 2 debuffs from special burst lockdown will make him go unblockable. That's the theory. Mr. Fantastic for the special one and other stuff. War Machine, because he does the what are those, power suppressions in the block, and so you can literally just get hit in the face is what's gonna happen. You'll get hit in the face if that happens. Best counter for that would be someone who's immune to power drain or power manipulation, so that would be Venom, Venom Pool, or maybe Terrax. I believe those would be options. I could be wrong, though. I don't know if those count as like power. Is it all power manipulation or power drain? That might not even work. You could also just nuke that down, but that one could be a fun one. Maybe just doom it. To be honest, doom is probably the option there. Node 28, prowess buildup, unblockable, return policy. Basically, if there are 3 prowesses, you're unblockable. You start with 1 prowess. That's 200% special damage. Bishop, he gets prowess. That's the reason. Apocalypse, he starts with 2 on defense. He'll be permanently unblockable for special attacks. Cersei, because she's fun, and return policy, as well as her specials hit harder, and sometimes they're unblockable, so that's a fun one. Katie Pride, for the same reason as Apocalypse. Basically, you're going to be you're going to have lots of prowess and lots of fun. You won't. The defender will. Argus is there for return policy. The superior specials will make his specials hit harder should you mess up. Pretty easy doom fight, though. Let's see, Node 29, Ebony Flow Intercept, Sadist. Sadist plays really well with Abomination, Immortal Abomination. I'm going to take that this war. I'll see if I can retroactively go back and kind of link all the stuff I'm referencing. I'll try to get Cody's video linked, my video linked, and a couple other things as well, if I can. But this one I'm taking with She-Hulk because I'm going to be taking an Ebony Maul boss, so that should be fun. Penny Parker, just because intercepting her is also annoying. You'd have to intercept her first and then take the shield down, because otherwise the shield will get taken down very slowly because of the protection. Domino, because she's Domino, and you slow playing her is not a good idea. Nova, because he auto blocks intercepts, but that's an easy fight. People need to stop placing Nova. I've killed him with like 2 or 3 different champions. Killmonger, because he's Killmonger, but I would not place him on this node. I'd place him on the further ones that shrug off armor breaks. Node 30 is Reinvigorated Unblockable. So if you get 10 regens, you go unblockable. That's a lot of regens. Never Back Down is like no retreat, but for regen, you dash back twice, they get a regen. Just people who are tanky, Hulk, Sasquatch, people who you don't want to dash back against, so Maw, Mojo, and Nihilus. Kind of like, how you would play them is not how you play the node, right? Force them to pick a new strategy for the node. Force them to pick a new strategy for the attacker, for the defender. Kind of make them get a new strategy is the idea. Node 31 is strike, counter, block, penetration, hard knock, life. Someone like Doom who just hits really hard. Someone like Apocalypse who hits into block. And also, if you can't parry him, that's going to be a tough time. Killmonger, just because he's Killmonger, could be annoying if you're trying to, like, block him a lot, right? Because you're not really going to be heavying him all that much, because you don't really parry Killmonger. So it's more a strike, counter, block, penetration than anything else on this node. He might actually be better on 41 now that I'm saying it. MODOK, you can't parry. Emma Frost, you're going to take lots of block damage because you can't heavy her sometimes, in theory, if you don't armor break her. Node 32 is Chitinous Thorns, which is armor up. You get a bleed. And then Cutting Wires is, if a robot gets bled, they get shocked instead, which means that Nebula can kill everything on this. What Nebula can't kill is Super Skrull. What Nebula can't kill is Silver Surfer. What Nebula can't kill is kind of Guardian, but Super Skrull, maybe. I mean, I still feel like he's kind of wasted, but maybe. And then someone like Gilly with the tactic. This is kind of a waste node. Just force someone to bring a counter, and you've kind of won on this node. This node's pretty easy. Spite and Rise to Power. Spite is obvious. I'm not going to explain that one. Rise to Power is if you knock them down. Basically, it's like super kinetic transference if you block. I think it's also if you either get hit or hit them, one of the two. But it's basically just kinetic transference for all intents and purposes. Yeah, so I don't think it's if you hit them. Don't get hit. If their attack makes contact with you, they'll get power if you knock them down. Domino, Havoc on Rise to Power mixed with Spite is a fun one. I really like that matchup. And then it's someone like Toad to kind of mess with Nimrod, because Toad is good, but Nimrod roasts him. I'm going to put an anti-ghost here as well. And then Mysterio, Penny Parker, Apocalypse. I have personally seen Spidey do work on Domino. And I would guess that Spidey would do work on Mysterio and Penny Parker and Apocalypse. Spidey 29 is just a very good champion. I could probably put a Spidey 2099 thing on the node itself. Like, just don't. If you ban Spidey 2099, it's going to be a harder node. I wouldn't ban him. I'll go over bans at the end. Node 34, Underhanded Comment is kind of like insult to injury. Every buff that the defender has reduces ability accuracy. Cersei, Nimrod, Super Skrull, Venom, Silver Surfer. What do they all have in common? They have lots of buffs. What else do they have in common? Archangel would absolutely destroy every single one of them besides Nimrod. Even Surfer, although I didn't put like an insignia there. Just put an invul on, Archangel it, done. But if you don't do that, and your Mystics don't get off to a quick start and don't nullify in time, could be a problem. Hazard Shift, one eye open, basically meaning don't hit during stun, don't do damage during stun, just don't stun, is the theory. Doctor Doom is a fun one there. I know that I've seen KT1 Havoc that. Um, Havoc as well is a decent one. Bishop. And then just like some fun ones that are kind of hard to deal with in general. So Mephisto and Weapon X on Hazard Shift could be fun. I believe Mephisto. Okay, so I would attack Doctor Doom with Havoc or Ghost, but Ghost is going to be banned. Havoc would be Ghost once again, but you're not going to be able to Ghost, so it would be Angela. Bishop would be either Angela or you might be able to Nebula and kill it in time. I'm pretty sure Barrowman's done that. So Nebula's a decent idea. Just parry his special 1 and then special 2 into his face. Mephisto would probably have to end up being... There are a couple options here. Personally, I would probably just give up and send Apocalypse. Either with... No, Odin wouldn't even work because of Mephisto. I would just send Apocalypse and hit half the time. Weapon X, just Angela. Or you can use Kingpin. Or you can use Nebula. Just do the node, it's not hard. Weapon X is the hard part there. Node 36 is Crumbling Armor and Steady Build Up Unblockable, so lots of the same people as Node 27. Null, Havoc, Void, Mr. Fantastic, and Clairvoyant. Pretty simple stuff. Node 37's Intercept, but it's Mighty Charge. This is the one I was alluding to, saying that Killmonger's a decent placement on. But Nick Fury with the Mighty Charge, just because he takes so long to kill. Also, if the protection's up, he's going to die slower in his second life. Actually, he'll always die slower with protection's up. That's how protection works. But he'll die slower in his second life with the protection up. Rhino, because you can't intercept him. I took this last season, and I just ignored the node. Like, I literally used Hercules and just hit him with protection up, and it took like 2 minutes. I know Lagacy's taken that a lot on his channel with Kitty. I've seen Strife take that with Sweetest Strife. But honestly, it's there because there's lots of time to mess up. Just use Hercules, take it really slow, just kill him normally, you'll be fine. America Chavez, because the Mighty Charge and her Heavy. Basically, if you can get America Chavez to Heavy or throw us a really, really dangerous Special 2, she'll be a hard defender. Penny Parker, because she's Penny Parker, same reason as before. Sasquatch, because, Intercept. I will say that Sasquatch would get absolutely nuked by Torch, so if there's no Torch, make it a lot harder. Node 38 is same to Node 28 pretty much, except it has Hard Knock Life, which means that you shouldn't parry. That's why Dragon Man's an option. Basically, I just put anti-parry options, so Ebony Maul, Dragon Man, Mojo. Past 6 pretty easy, to be honest. Even like Doom, Penny Parker, Omega Sentinel, lots of the same stuff as before. I think Omega Sentinel would be kind of a fun one here. I think Omega Sentinel is slept on in terms of a defender. She's very new. She has a couple abilities that are made very, very difficult by nodes. It's not to say that you can't alternate your combos. Just do a light, medium, not hard. But if you put her on certain nodes, makes her very difficult. I would even argue you could put on, maybe on one eye open. No, you could Nebula that. Don't do that. But just putting her on places, the way that her kit works, it synergizes very well with other nodes. Node 39 is the same as Node 37, but with Crumbling Armor, which is why sometimes you'll see Void there. But I basically took Node 37, and Node 39 is the same. Oh, I'm not supposed to highlight that. Node 37 and Node 39 is the same. So these both apply to any. I duplicated some, but I tried to give different options. Node 37 and Node 39 are interchangeable. The only difference is anyone can kill Node 39. So if it's a niche fight, put it on Node 37 so that one person has to take it. If that makes sense, instead of giving 3 people the access to that node. Node 40 is similar to Node 30, but with Buffet. If they regen, and then there's Buffet, so just like people who you want, once again, to kind of like slow play and back off of, you can put them there. Node 41 is similar to Node 31 with a strike counter block penetration, but it's under pressure, which is no retreat for disorient. You dash back twice, you get a disorient. That's why I put Void there as a suggestion. Anything here can pretty much get apocalypsed. Anything on path 2 just gets apocalypsed. Joel has some really good videos on that. So this is a defense guide, but I'm going over offensive options too, because for one, anything can be soloed. It's very anything can be soloed. Okay, any defender on any node can be soloed. Any path with any combination of defenders can be soloed. The thing is making as many difficult matchups as you can and understanding who they're going to use on attack and banning them if you can. Or if, for example, Kitty Pryde gets absolutely destroyed by Nimrod, where can we place Kitty Pryde that she can't get Nimroded easily? And so basically trying to think as an attacker and then combating that. So yeah, there's going to be lots of links in the description. please check them out if you want to see how people would attack these matchups, how I would attack these matchups, and kind of work to combat that a little bit. Node 41, I mean, where you basically went over it, just people who you want to slow play. Penny Parker could be a fun one there. I might try that at some point. Node 42 is Explosive Personality and Enhanced Armor. Why did I read Enhanced Armor? That's like a useless one. Explosive Personality, Mordo, like a Sentinel with her auto block, and already lots of her armor breaks already, or armor ups already. She's gonna have a ton of armor. It's gonna be really hard to kill her, except with Torch, as you can see by my insignia. Overseer, just by blocking, you can't nullify it either. Hulkbuster, because once you hit into his block and give him armor ups, your ability accuracy is going to be reduced. So if you hit into his block too many times at the beginning, it's kind of over for you. Thing and Modok, just Modok because you don't want to hit into his block, and Thing because he's immune to removing the armor up. So basically, if you mess up his rock stacks, you'll just have to eat the damage or eat the rocks or eat the unstoppable. Node 43 is Aspect Evolution, Kinetic Transference. Basically, I just play with Kinetic Transference here for the most part, so Bishop, Mojo, Ebony Maul, and Nova and Nick Fury, those are all Kinetic Transference plays pretty much. I mean, Aspect definitely helps with the power and the attack, but it's mostly playing to Kinetic Transference. Node 44 is Rich Get Richer Power, which is the normal Rich Get Richer, and Opportunist. Opportunist does admittedly make you hit a little bit hard, especially with the power and the Mystic Ward, so buff options again. Node 45 is Hazard, Shift, Shock, Bleed again. Nerves of Steel is if there's an armor up, you'll get shocked, which is why I put Super Scroll here, but pretty much anybody who does good on the shock, bleed place. Apocalypse will get roasted by Nebula, so maybe don't do that. Weapon X might get roasted by Nebula, not really sure. Node 46. Here's another thing. Path 9. There's Ghost, there's Nebula, there's Red Hulk, there's Kingpin, there's Angela, there's Jabari Panther, there's Kitty Pryde, Shang-Chi, who just kind of ignore it to an extent if you play carefully. And so there's always going to be someone who can kill your defender, but why wouldn't you make it so one person has to be killed by Nebula, one person has to be killed by Kingpin with Hood synergy, one person has to be killed by Ghost, you see what I'm saying? So just because there's a clear-cut solo option, just don't make it so that they can easily attack your path. So if path 9 needs to be Nebula'd and Kingpinned, and also Red Hulked, they're either going to not have a synergy for Kingpin or something, right? So you want to make it as hard as possible. You want to kind of make it so they have to use multiple attackers on each path. Node 46, which is Strike, Counter, Combat Power Rate, Buffet, and Shitness Thorns. People with debuffs, and people with armor up buffs. So Silver Surfer's a good one there. Super Scroll, Hulkbuster, Guardian, Killmonger. You can place Nimrod there too, but people have a lot of practice on Nimrod, so I wouldn't. Node 47 is basically just Aspect and a bunch of power gain. So Mojo is for the power gain and for the Aspect. Nimrod is for mostly the power gain, in theory. Super Scroll, Cersei. Basically what you want is you want a ton of power gain, which will fuel your Aspect of Evolution, and people who, if you mess up, are going to be very costly. People you have to slow play, all that kinds of stuff. And with that, we're on to Boss Island. So node 48 is Super Skrull, Nimrod, Sasquatch, Penny, and Omega Sentinel. This node is basically power efficiency, return policy, feat of vigilance, which is not really that important. If you get to a bar power, they get a vigilance buff. Anytime a buff expires, hint hint, that vigilance buff, or their own personal buffs, you have, I think it's 4 seconds to knock them down, to hit them with a heavy attack or a special, so you don't have to finish the special. So basically, people who can spam a ton of special attacks, like Penny Parker, for example. So imagine if you have to heavy Penny Parker within 4 seconds. You have to basically bait out a ton of her special twos. It's going to be hard to do that. So I think that could be a fun one. I might try that at some point. She doesn't interact with return policy, but she interacts really well with power efficiency and missing in action. Hazard Shift, just people who are hard to kill with Hazard Shift options. So Kitty Pryde, Super Skrull, Cersei to an extent, although to be honest, that's a pretty easy one. Killmonger, you'll just have to eat some damage and be okay with it. Weapon X, that's a fun one. I mean, just back off when he has Berserk mode. But yeah, these are all options that could definitely get a kill here. Node 50 is a really easy node. Pretty much anybody you place on it besides Toad is going to be a free kill, and then Toad is going to be a free kill with Nimrod. All these options could work. But basically, just give them someone who you could mess up on. On the nodes that aren't super tricky, just give them someone who you have to slow play the fight, you have to play abnormally, you have to do something weird, and then hopefully they can mess up. Node 51, Combat Deja Vu, Prowess Puncture, which is basically to get 60% block penetration when there's a Prowess, and Conflictor, just people who you kind of want to parry. So Nick Fury, it's going to be kind of hard if he's shrugging stuff off. Granted, White Mags will get around that, but even still, someone like Archangel could be pretty easy for that node. Someone like Bishop, who we're actually facing this war, I'm going to Apocalypse that. The original plan was to Ghost it because my lovely opponents decided not to ban Ghost, but we needed She-Hulk for a Sasquatch boss, so we're gonna Apocalypse that. Abomination, because even if you have no debuffs or you're using Apocalypse or someone, no, okay, you're not gonna use Apocalypse there. Even if you're using someone who does no debuffs, Eyebomb makes his own, so he'll get power. Sasquatch just because of power spam, and also he can't always be parried, so there's that too. Hitting into block a lot is gonna hurt. Getting hit into block a lot is gonna hurt. Mysterio and Chavez for the same reason, power and throwing lots of specials. Boss, all these bosses are easy. I think Omega Sentinel, if you ban Hercules and Torch, which I advocate for, could be fun. I don't know how I would attack that, but that would be a fun one. You could Modoc as well if you ban Hercules. Honestly, you'd probably have to ban Ghost too, because I've seen Karate Mike take that down with Hazard Shift up. That's a little bit more of a sketchy strategy, though, but Omega Sentinel is a good one. Modoc if you ban Hercules. Bishop if you ban Ghost. Weapon X, Penny Parker. Just people who are hard to kill and people who ideally you want to be able to stun. Plus Weapon X. Stunning Reflection. If you ban Human Torch and Hercules, you're going to have to take Omega Sentinel with Magneto, which is like a 3.5 minute fight. Not saying it's a hard fight, but a 4-minute fight's never fun. Kitty Pryde, I saw Ray's die to that with Nimrod the other day. It's a slow fight there. That's not true. It's a slow fight if you're not using Apocalypse, so maybe you should have watched my war videos and used Apocalypse. No, all joking aside, Kitty Pryde can be a hard one. Domino, probably just Nimrod that. Bishop, if you can't Ghost it, you'd probably Kitty it, or Apocalypse it, or do something. Apocalypse isn't the best option there, but it'd work. Super Scroll and Korg, just because, you can't stun them, so they could be fun. Node 54, which is the Aspect of Evolution power gain one. Mangog is always there. You can magic that very easily. You can Spidey that very easily. You can... We'll put a little Spidey insignia. You can Torch that very easily with the Invul. You can Tiger that if you really want to with an Invul. There are a couple options there. You can Eye-Bomb that if you really wanted to. Sasquatch Mephisto, basically just mystics who have Mystic Dispersion tactic and also or MD and passive power gain and all that lovely stuff. Node 55, Hard Knock Life is basically the issue. Hard Knock Life and Limber, but Limber can be combated with White Magneto, so literally just Hard Knock Life. So people who can basically just be irritating. So Domino, Omega Sentinel, remember, because of the combo, alternating. Someone like Nimrod, just because you have to slow play that a little bit, and the Hard Knock Life could be a problem. Apocalypse, just because of Hard Knock Life and hitting into block. Penny Parker, but she can get nuked by Hercules. Now for bans. Human Torch shuts down the tactic, and frankly shuts down 99% of Mystics. So that's a no on him. Hercules shuts down the tactic, and frankly kills damn near everything in sight, so that's a no on him. Ghost, she kills everything with debuffs, damaging debuffs, anything that evades. And she also shuts down the tactic, because if you intercept, the tactic goes away for a period of time, or it turns off or something. Basically, Ghost kills it too. So I would ban those three. If you want to ban Spidey or Archangel, I wouldn't do it, but if you want to do it, you can, and I've kind of told you which defenders would be made harder by banning them. But I would ban Human Torch, Hercules, and Ghost without a question. This was made on the 26th, and then I finished it up yesterday, the day before this was posted. Red means really hard, green means kind of hard, white means decent. It's made for tiers 1 to 3. Once again, I want to shout out, especially Cody, for really helping me with this. There will be lots of links in the description. Please go visit these links if you want to see how to kill the certain path options that I've talked about. Please sub to the channels if you can. They have lots of good war videos out. Because frankly, besides Battlegrounds, war is the best thing in this game. And so if you want to learn how to do it better, on the defense side, I can help you. On the offense side, I can help you for Path 5. But there are lots of other paths out there. And so if you want to check those out, please look in the description and get those links. If you want this guide, I can send it to you in either Excel or PDF format. Please send me a message online at it's triple U6. I'm going to drop it in the description in the comments as well. Send me a message online asking me for the sheet. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And then I might also have a pinned comment giving you another option to ask someone else if possible, because I will be taking a small break from YouTube for a couple weeks, a little bit more on that later. I will be back, but I might take a little vacation, so we'll see about that. I'll just do my war and do my AQ, and that's about it. But I will happily send you that sheet for Excel or for PDF format, and if you want it, just ask, and that's pretty much it. Like, this is how I would suggest setting up your defense. These are the nodes. This is tier 1 to 3. Once again, you can use it for other tiers. It's just not as effective, but it'll still work really well. I mean, that's it. So, thank you for watching. I'm more than happy to send this to you. I'd love for you to use this guide. I put a lot of work into it, so if you want to use this, please do it. I'm more than happy to send it to you. And that will be all for today. I really hope that this war goes well. I hope the season goes well for everybody, including my alliance. And that will be all. So, thank you so much for watching.